What's up, guys? Welcome to Behind the Golf Brand podcast. This week I have a really good friend of mine, Gavin Perret, from a brand that's resurrecting like a phoenix, Penfold Golf. This story is crazy. The history, the provenance, I guess you could say. That's a pretty big word. I think I read that in a book yesterday. It's really cool. And I think this brand's going to blow up, like for reals. So without further ado, this is my friend, Gavin. Gavin, welcome to the show.
Hi, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
So I guess my first question to you is, what is Penfold?
A golf brand? No, it's,
You passed. Next question.
yeah, yeah.
Are you from France? Because you sound French.
No, not from France. I'm from Torquay in Devon, England. So that cuts that one. But no, Penfold is a historic golf brand founded by Albert Ernest Penfold in 1927. Mr. Penfold himself worked for a couple of companies. He'd done a lot of work for Silvertown Company, and then moved to Dunlop in Birmingham. And he one claim to fame there would be the Max Fly golf ball. He invented the Max Fly golf ball, so obviously that's still around now to this day. And then he shifted and set up his own project in Birmingham again, at Ward's End in Birmingham in 1927 under the name of Golf Ball Development Limited, and produced the Penfold golf ball. And I guess one of his major things there was he invented the first pure white Goody golf ball. So the Perret golf ball, that you see today, the white one, was pretty much his contribution to golf. He found a way to produce a white ball, whereas previously they were all sort of dirty golf balls,
Like a dirty yellow, like white,
precisely,
whitish.
Yeah, so
I call that Nintendo white. So like my Super Nintendo turned from gray to a yellow sheep color.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. It's a good point. A little bit yellow, but obviously, so big sort of history within the game, and then we could rattle off all the rest of the stuff that he's done with the company since then. Penfold, Albert Ernest Penfold Senior, unfortunately, was lost at sea in 1941. The boat he was on, returning from America after doing business in America, he would come over to America and basically go from golf club to golf club to golf club to golf club.
Like during the war?
This is probably, a little bit just before. So, I mean, obviously he was doing it just before the war, but and then 1939, he was still doing it. 1949, 41. He was heavily involved in the war effort in the United Kingdom before he passed. He did a lot for it, from what I believe, from stuff that I've read. But unfortunately, in 1941, the boat was sunk by one of the German submarines. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Lost at sea. Yeah, so his son, Albert Ernest Penfold Jr., took on the role of head for Penfold from there on, and continued the good work that Senior had put into it. So incredible.
That's crazy, stuff. Man. That's just crazy.
Yeah, and it's sad, obviously, because he was in the prime of what he was doing, and taking Penfold a lot of trips back and forth to the US, and really promoting the brand over here in the US and back at home in the UK. So back then, you're traveling by boat, probably took a long time, get back and forth all the time. So a lot of time invested into the company.
So then son takes over, right?
Yeah.
And then what happens?
He did a fantastic job. You just look at the history and whatever else. I mean, they had the Penfold tournament, which was pretty much the biggest tournament in the UK. They started, the first event was at Royal Porthcawl in 1932 and 1933. And they continued that through to 1975 in various ways. They had a Penfold League at one point, I believe. They had about 3 or 4 year gap during the war. But there's a lot of tournaments, a lot of famous players won tournaments. Sir Henry Cotton, Fred Daly, Northern Irishman. And then you get to 1975, Penfold hosted the PGA Championship, which is now the BMW PGA. And Arnold Palmer came across and won the Penfold PGA Championships in May of 1975. So you have pictures of him lifting the Penfold trophy at Royal St. George's. And they sponsored it 1976, 1977. A couple of Spaniards, I believe, won after that. So, Manuel Pinero was one of them, a famous European Ryder Cup player, along with Seve. Penfold was at the peak of its powers at that point. Unfortunately, the Penfold Junior was at the age of retirement. I think he got to the point where he could only take it so far and needed to pass it on to a company he felt was going to take it to the next level.
Because it was already like he's probably getting older in his years, right? Like
that's right. He was
30 years. Yeah, it's probably probably 60s, and he's like, okay.
No, he was actually in his late 70s, maybe 78, 79 years old. And it was just at a point where I think it needed to be handed on, and he needed to do it with a company that was respected and looked like it was going to obviously take it to the next level. I mean, by 1977, you got players like Nick Faldo on staff for Penfold. We had Seve Ballesteros in 1978, 1979. That we post those pictures. You see him with Penfold GX golf gloves. You see him with Penfold staff bags, the golf ball he used. A lot of history in the brand. So, Gary Player was probably the biggest one on staff at that point. He was a huge advocate of Penfold golf. He had signed a 10-year contract to Penfold in 1975, which is really cool. About 1976 was when the handover began. It went to Colgate-Palmolive, who at the time were increasing their sort of their brand structure. They had numerous brands. They took on Penfold and Ram Golf as well, and various other sporting companies. And unfortunately, I think they took on too much come 1979, just after Seve won his first Open Championship playing a Penfold Tradition golf ball. They sold Penfold to, I don't actually know who the buyer was. Unfortunately, I sort of run into a bit of a brick wall from 1980s forward, where obviously all the staff that we had, the contracts got voided, and Penfold went in a different direction. And unfortunately, from there, it was kind of like a bit of a downward slope, and Penfold kind of just slowly disappeared. Still doing golf balls, they had done like a bunch of equipment and still doing some gloves and stuff, but not to the level that was being produced.
It's so crazy. So like, it pretty much like, I didn't hear Penfold. I didn't even know what it was. I mean, until I met you, like I was like, what's this? And then we talked, and I was like, that's freaking crazy. Like, yeah,
I mean, that's unfortunate. I mean, unfortunately, obviously in the US, when Colgate-Palmolive had guys on staff for Penfold, they'd have them on staff for Penfold in the UK and Europe, and then they would change them when they came over here to play under the Ram brand. So they would use them where have it with Ram staff bags and Ram balls and hats and whatever else is that they were pushing on them, because it was an American company. And I think the promise was that they were going to build Penfold in the US, and I think that maybe they broke that promise from what I could tell, and they continued to push Ram and continued to push Ram in the UK. So it was a shame. I think that they obviously didn't do a great job. If they were going to take on so many brands, you can't really take on two rival golf brands and expect one, to survive. You do one or the other. But it was obviously a bad sale, unfortunately. I think that they've done a really bad job of it. And
so then when did I know with your research and stuff, like when did Penfold kind of just disappear? Like, you know what I mean? Like when it kind of just fell off the radar.
It looks like it was maybe sometime in the 90s. The brand has always lived on. I mean, as you can see, you're looking at the image there, Sean Connery using the Penfold Hearts golf ball in the 1965 Bond movie Goldfinger.
Yeah, this is what's so sick about this brand, you guys. Like,
yeah,
you got a brand here that like has some of the coolest history. Like, seriously, like the graphics. And then, like, when I was talking, to Gavin, he's like, "Yeah, well, they use it in James Bond." I was like, "Shut up! No, they didn't." And he's like, "No, really, they did." So tell them, like, because Gavin's like us, you guys. Like, he's a fan of the sport, and then we'll go into how he, got involved with Penfold, but like, it'd be just cool. Tell him how you tell the audience, like, how did you find out about Penfold?
Well, I found out about Penfold through the James Bond movie, a long time ago. I was obviously I'm a huge golf fan. I played golf from when I was, in my mid-teens. It came about, I was just watching it and I heard it. And obviously, you knew about Slazenger, which is what Auric Goldfinger used. But James Bond said, in that particular moment, here's my Penfold Heart. And so he's obviously used and identified his ball as a Penfold Heart. And you're thinking, it's not like a Penfold 1 or a Penfold 2, it's a Penfold Heart. And I instantly looked it up and,
because you're like, what's that?
Yeah, that's exactly
I never heard
it.
of this.
That's right, yeah. And I was like, wow. And then as I looked into the company more and more, it was just fascinating. You got that Ace advert there with Gary Player holding up the Penfold Ace. And then you looked at the Penfold PGA Championship with Arnold Palmer holding the Penfold trophy there. And, just things like this Penfold Dual ID golf ball. It just looks fantastic. And, the style was
such
really
a cool logo too. Like, it's
you
so
got that there.
60s, like retro looking. Like,
Yeah,
it's so
that's
cool.
It. You got Gary Player there with his Hearts GX golf glove there, which is one that we've replicated. And it just looks amazing.
Guys,
you're looking at it screams so out something different. It was unique. They used the club's logo as one of their main logos, which is what we do now. Card suits are all over the golf balls, and he played a Penfold was a huge thing where they had the figurine men in all the pro shops that said he played a Penfold on the bottom.
Oh, that's cool.
It's pretty much a cartoon character of the founder.
Looks like him. Yeah, I just say that up
Penfold,
here.
Yeah,
his face, his nose, you can tell. Yeah, so like pretty much like you just started doing research right away. Like you heard it a million times.
Yeah. And you look at, I grew up wearing back in England at the time. I was out wearing Pringle sweaters. Nothing that I thought to do with golf, even though they were cool. But they have that really cool lion logo and stuff. And you had this beautiful like cashmere sweaters and whatever else. And you'd pick one up and I'd go out wearing these really nice Pringle sweaters and Lyle and Scott, really nice polo shirts. So, my thoughts are on the lines. I saw Penfold and I thought, what's happened to this company? This company has the ability to be not just a company like this, but actually even bigger, better, because of the history of
it's almost like, I guess the
game.
Best way to describe it, some people is like, imagines like the future and you're like, oh, what's Pro V1, right? Or like some iconic ball, or say I'm using a Pro V1 in a movie, and then you're like, what's that? Because Titleist fell off the face of the earth. This is literally what it's like, right? Because Penfold was a huge brand up until about the early 80s, and then it slowly diminished, and then it just disappeared, like completely, like off the radar. Nobody knows who owns it. There's like multiple, who knows, right? So then Gavin's like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure out who owns this brand, because this brand is sick. And I think it'd be really cool to figure out, just, is it around still? Is it,
Look, for me, it was a case of, I'm a golf fan. I like fashion, and I love history. So it ticked all the boxes for me. And
cool,
sporting history, is one of my main things. I love sporting history, and you see the iconic players that played and used Penfold. And then, of course, you got someone like James Bond, one of the most iconic, sort of movie
Heroes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, ever.
And I'm really, and it's not one of the crappy Bond movies either, right? It's not
No,
like,
it
oh,
was.
it's the one where that guy was only in for one episode, whatever his name
Yeah,
was.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, talking about and James Bond himself being Sean Connery, who is one of the most iconic figures I can think of
Because like
in
every
the
dude
history
wants to
of.
be James Bond. Come on, right?
I mean, I think at the time everybody wanted to be Sean Connery, didn't they? I mean,
Yeah, I
he's
still
probably
do.
yeah. You think Gray's coming in?
Oh yeah, I already
Maybe
got that
that's
going for me.
yeah.
I need to lose some weight. I need your accent though.
Yeah, but he's Scottish. You don't need a Scottish accent. I
Oh
can't do
yeah,
that.
I should
So
buy a kilt.
you can work on that one. That'll do. Yeah, a kilt.
Okay. I'll get my bagpipes, start like marching around my table.
I'll tell you what. How about you just start with a Penfold Hearts golf ball?
All right, let's do that first.
That'll work. So yeah, I mean, you can just see the history. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating.
It's like
brand.
right there. I mean, it's just so crazy because, I mean, I don't know. I think it's the coolest story. When you told me a story, I was like, this cannot be true. Like this, like this guy's making this up. He's trying to sell he's trying to sell some balls.
If you're a fan of golf and a fan of the history of golf, so in hindsight, if you're a true golf fan, which I think that a lot of people are, then you would be a fan of Penfold, the brand and the name and the history of the brand. And I think that's where, it will be a successful brand because people can resonate with that brand from, guys in their 40s, 50s to me in my 30s, and even now 20s and whatever, because, those kind of historic parts of the game are still around. You see it every time the Open comes on, and you see Seve winning in 1979, and you see Gary Player back in the 60s and 70s all the time, clips of that stuff. And I think it's just history, isn't it? It's just heritage, and golf is about history and heritage. So Penfold plays nicely into that, but obviously we want to move the brand forward at the same time.
It's just so cool because all right, so he finds out, he starts doing his research, and he like who owns this brand, what are they doing with it, and then tell him what happened next.
So I contacted the guy who owns the company, and basically, initially I felt like I could find somebody that could do something with the brand, and then it just ended up being me. I was ultimately, as part of my story is that I'm a squash professional by trade. I played professionally, and then for the last several years I now coach full time in Philadelphia. And I just knew that there was only going to be a certain amount of time that I felt I was going to be able to do that. I didn't want to be in my 40s still coaching a silly amount of hours of squash where my body is just breaking slowly but surely. It's a demanding sport. When you play at a high level, demanding wise, it's just one of the most demanding sports in the world. And so, body's already taken a toll. And then when you start coaching 30 odd hours in a week, your body starts to break down. And anyone who's done that, from tennis players to squash players to any sport that really is a repetitive kind of syndrome, even golf to a way, if you're going to be hitting golf balls relentlessly. I think when you coach golf, you stop hitting the ball, whereas squash, it's just non-stop hitting. So your body just starts to feel it. And I felt like, I was only going to really do that for a certain amount of time. So I always had my eye on a future project.
Yeah.
And
don't we all, right?
Yeah. I mean, Penfold ticked all the boxes for me. So I said to the owner, I said, I'm gonna take it on, and we're gonna roll with it, and we're just gonna go for it.
We're gonna resurrect this bad boy. That's what we're gonna do.
That's exactly it. Yeah, precisely. Yeah. Yeah. So it was really exciting.
It's so crazy. I just think it's crazy. I think it's like there's so much history there, and there's so much like cool stuff that the amount of creativity you can do is endless. It's not like you're starting like, oh, I have an idea for a golf ball. You know what I mean? Or I have an idea for a shirt. It's like I have 100 years almost of a brand.
Yeah, I have archives and archives of ideas for using to take the brand forward. it's fascinating. It's interesting.
And you're starting to
it's
see
exciting.
that too a lot with like, I mean, not a lot, but like with fashion, you're seeing a lot of the old styles coming back, and it's popular again. You know,
It
with
is,
with
yeah.
the different types of polos and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean the
But
clothing range we're working on is going to be absolutely fantastic. You know, we've taken our time. We could have rushed out some stuff this year, put some stuff in for the fall, but we just
now,
felt we
no
wanted to
race.
make it
Yeah, it's
right.
like this year's kind of shot, anyways. I mean,
It feels like that, yeah.
it's like here we are, almost October, which is insane,
Yeah,
and I know golf is doing great. We'll see what happens during the fall and winter. But I was to start fresh and new in 21 with like clothes and stuff like that.
that's
But
it. That's exactly
no, it'd
it.
be
Yeah,
really
you know,
cool. You guys should do. This is my idea. You should credit for me with this when you do it. You should get Gary Player to like post with this stuff again. Like if you like somehow get him to like wear it and be like, it'd be so freaking sick, dude. The amount of
we've been in touch with Mr. Player. You know, we've reached out. He received our some of our stuff right now. We sent him that orange golf glove, and
because when you're like Gary Player's the man, right? But then you see this stuff,
he's
and he's
cool.
like, it's like 50 years later or 45 years later since when you did these ads, and you're like, oh, it's really cool. They're bringing that back. I mean, I don't know, like if he has a bad taste in his mouth from what whatever happened.
No, I don't. I don't
I
think so.
doubt
You know,
it.
the word is that from what I heard, he's absolutely very respectful of the Penfold brand. He loved it. You know, he absolutely loved
I
Penfold
bet
back
he
in the
would.
day.
Yeah.
He won open championships with Penfold golf balls. So obviously you're never going to forget that kind of stuff.
No,
So
I think
I
it's
think
cool.
there's a lot of respect for the brand amongst these guys. You know, Nick Faldo, one of his agents sent me a picture of an image that Nick sent to him of his Penfold golf ball that he won his first ever event with in the 1978 PGA Championship.
That's so crazy.
And he's still got the Penfold golf ball, that he's kept. And so he got really excited when he saw the article that went out in My Golf Spy about the brand coming back, and he showed his agent the golf ball that he still has from 1978. He kept it, and it looks in fantastic
cool.
condition. So these guys love the brand, and we got a lot of exciting projects coming up. Let's just put it that way.
I mean, I would too, right? Like if that's, I don't know. It's like you look back at it and that was, it's like when you get older and you go, oh, I remember I was 20 years old, right? The same thing for these guys. They're all 60, 70, 80 years old. And they're like, oh, it's when I was 30 or 40. And it's when I was the peak of my career. You know what I mean? I think to them, it's almost like a time machine. And then they're very excited to see it come back.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that it gives them that nostalgia, doesn't it? You know, that feeling of, what it felt like, remembering back in the day. I mean, I'd love it too. I mean,
I would too. I mean, if it was me, I would love it. I mean,
absolutely.
I just think it's cool because it's interesting too, because, when you see Penfold declining, what you've learned, right, over from about 80 to 90-ish, right? That's when you see titles coming up, right? Because there's like, and that's when titles started coming out with their first ball, with their first ball, really, because they didn't even have balls yet. So that's so freaking cool.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's
a lot.
so
And
cool.
like I say, we've got some really exciting projects coming up. We released our new Penfold Hearts golf ball at the beginning of October, and then we've got an incredible collaboration partnership coming up that we will
announce later.
Announce. I think we're probably going to announce Masters Sunday. I think is the sort of date in our minds that we're going to.
It's like 3 months from now, bro. It's like 2 months.
2 months. So I mean, you got to wait. We got to get. It's very hard actually right now to get new projects out. Supply chains kicking.
I couldn't imagine
backside, and then I mean, golf ball supply chain is crazy. I mean, I've always said along, we're not trying to be Titleist. We're not even trying to compete with someone like Snell. We're a completely different brand. The golf balls that we have, and I've said this to John at My Golf Spy about, they're going to be great golf balls. And people are playing with them and they're surprised at how good the golf balls are. I'm like, why are you surprised? I mean, they're a good golf ball, but they're not just a finicky ball. They're a very good golf ball. They play very well. Most golfers are going to game well with them.
How many pieces are they? 2 or 3 or what? 4?
the Penfold Hearts is a 3-piece dual ionomer. So that basically means the cover is an ionomer and the middle layer is an ionomer. And together they form a nice soft golf ball for a distance ball. You're getting a lot of control around the greens and nice.
What's the price point of those balls going to be?
They will be $28 for a dozen.
That's a good deal, right? For a 3-piece ball for $28. That's a good price.
It is. We're in the same range, say like the Titleist Velocity, for instance. We're not the same.
You're close to Snell. You're close to Encore. You're not playing a 2-piece ball. A 2-piece ball usually runs under $20. I mean, so that's a good price point.
We're not going to be like where you have to subscribe to get lower prices, or you have to buy 5 balls to get lower prices, or 5 dozen to get lower prices. The price is that price. That's the price, and it's a ball that we want people to enjoy playing with. To feel that nostalgia. If they want to be James Bond, or if they want to be Gary Player, or whatever it is they want to be, because they're unique and the markings are unique, and it's a great like a little ball for when you're playing with your mates, and it's got a story to it, and it's brilliant, and it'll play really well. The distance on the Penfold Heart is just as good as any ball out there. So yeah, we're really excited.
I think it's a good. I think it's a good price point, and with a 3-piece ball, and I'd buy it. I think it's
we got the 4-piece dual ID, which is going to probably come out in the new year, the new
That's
one,
cool.
And that'll be $35. So we're down below. What I would say, you get into that point of where it's an expensive golf ball. If we do
I think once you break, I feel like once you break like $40, now you're in the expensive range.
And if we do a urethane golf ball, if we do urethane golf ball, 3-piece urethane or something, we'll probably keep the golf ball to about $40 range.
I'm learning a lot about golf balls. I didn't know anything about golf balls, and then the last month I learned so much.
It's a case of getting urethane golf ball right now. Like I say, the supply chain completely. Can I use the F word, or But
it's super hard. I don't care. You can use whatever you want.
It's fact, and I think they're struggling. The brands are struggling to get. Everyone's fighting over it. We don't need to do that. We'll just keep going with the flow.
I've heard that. I've heard it's like super, 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 super hard to get as a manufacturer to get the balls, because they weren't making balls for 2 months, and now everybody needs balls to sell, and they're all going crazy.
Urethane's not that easy to get in the first place, from what I'm sort of figuring out here, and so now everyone wants it, and it's really tough.
And there's so many ball brands, that's what I'm learning too. It's like, you have your big 4 or 5, whatever, and then you have some of the smaller brands that are doing well. But you got Encore, you got Vice, you got Snell, you got Cut. All these golf brands have come up out of nowhere, and it's direct to consumer. Penfold.
Well, Penfold, now there's Penfold, but I feel like we're a little bit different. We are direct to consumer, but we will have the dual ID. We'll be selling to pro shops as well, so you'll see Penfold on the shelves in pro shops, country clubs.
That's cool.
As well, which is the reason that we want to do that is because that was the founder's wish. Was he wanted the golf balls to be seen on the shelves and to be sold through pros.
I just think like you have some really cool history with how they did sell it in pro shops back in the day, and it'd be cool if you brought that back and then sold the same way.
Definitely.
And especially with the older golfer, right, who's in the 60s, 70s, 80s, sees that, especially if you're English, right, then you're gonna be like, oh, that's really cool, and they're gonna buy it just because it's just the nostalgic of it, and they're gonna at least give it a shot.
We're going to have so what we're going to have is we obviously have direct consumer online. We have distribution in the UK and the USA, and the UK handles UK and Europe, and the USA handles North America, Americas, rest of the world. And, we'll have our online stuff that we will sell. You can only get the Hearts golf ball online. And then, we'll have a completely separate range for our wholesale. So we'll have, country clubs and golf clubs will have their own range of Penfold gear that they sell exclusively in the golf clubs, and we don't have it online. So when you can go and get that particular polo shirt only in the country club or the golf club, it's going to be really cool. So we keep it that it's not.
You should, to get more ideas for clothing or whatever, you should do like not even a contest, but be like, hey, if you send something in, if you have a picture or if you have anything that has Penfold on it, like send it in because you might know not even know that exists, right? That thing, and then
Yeah.
like we'll send you a voucher for $10 off or something. Because I think it's almost like looking for, it's like an Indiana Jones movie. You're looking for something really cool. And it's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of ways because even the artwork that you have on the site, as well as some of the old pictures, like those are really cool, with the
Yeah.
bag, like Nick Faldo's bag, I think it is.
Yeah, that's right.
That
Yeah,
is
it's
cool.
Penfold staff bag. Yeah, yeah, it's fantastic. It's brilliant. It just looks great.
It
I
looks
love
so
that.
good. I love that logo. That logo is like straight out of the 60s and it looks so freaking cool.
It looks good. Yeah, well, we love we do have the Sevi bag from 1977, the staff bag, and we've had samples made up of that. You'll have seen that on the Instagram. You'll have seen it. So we replicated the bag, and we're going to have that bag available in the new year in leather staff bag, and then we'll have a stand bag version of it as well. So a modern bag with the exact same design and logo.
It'll literally look the exact same as that bag.
Correct. Yeah, it will be a smaller streamer version because obviously it's a carry bag. So yeah, but it will look almost identical. It's gonna be really cool.
Yeah. So right now you have the gloves, then you have the putter heads or the covers, right? And then you have the balls that are coming out in like a couple weeks.
We have our hats. We have a bunch of accessories. We're looking at various other things too, but we're not just spraying out random stuff all over the place. Like a lot of these guys will do. They're just put this out, and we're being careful with how we.
You should do like limited run stuff. Like
we'll do limited run stuff, but
to see like if somebody buys it.
Yeah, we will. We'll do limited run stuff. We'll do all sorts of stuff, but we want to be sure that it's keeping in, it's respecting the brand as it was and as it is, and how we're going to move it forward. We're not just going to put something out that has a T-shirt with Penfold written across the front because
some cheap ass shirt like
exactly
with the logo, be like, oh, buy my shirt, and then people like, no, not
right. Yeah, we're working with a fantastic men's designer in the UK. We worked with a guy who's been working with David Beckham in the UK for the last 5, 6, 7 years or whatever it was. And then now we're working with a friend of his who has more time on his hands to be able to help Penfold move forward. And sort of we're working with those guys to bring out the range for the new year in the spring, which I can't wait for. It's going to be absolutely brilliant.
So freaking cool. I mean, I just love the story, because it's the way, excuse me, that like you found it, you did the research, you found out who actually owned it at that point. Then you approached them and said, "Hey, I want to do this," and then you guys were able to come to an understanding, an agreement, and then it's really cool.
It's my approach of any of it. I mean, I just always remember my mum's boyfriend when I was in my sort of maybe about 12, 13, and he would always say, if you don't ask, you don't get. And, that was his motto to his business, and he's very successful. And it's true, you just have to go out there and you have to ask these guys, it's people like Gary Player, I just go out, you approach them and respectfully ask them if they're interested in doing something again with Penfold. And you'll tend to find that they're very interested in helping or doing something because
they will. They will. Deep down, they have a love for that.
That's right.
And it's different. That's what I tell people. It's just different. It's like when you're giving.
It's very unique. It's a very unique brand.
You guys are gonna explode, dude. I already know it. When I first talked to you, I told you that. I'm like, oh my god, you guys are gonna blow up. I already know it. I would be blown away if you don't. Don't mess this up.
I hope so. I really do hope so. And obviously, I put in so much time and effort into this myself. It's just me and my business partner right now.
You got a fan.
We're working really hard, and like I say, we're doing it along the lines of we're not rushing. There's no need to rush. We're in the middle of the pandemic as such, and we're not just throwing anything and everything out there and putting ourselves in a situation where we can't recoup that and we're stuck with.
You're not being dumb about it. It's not like, oh, we're going to come out with Penfold golf clubs, or like some huge investment. And you're taking the time you need to do it right.
It will look after itself. At the end of the day, when we grow a fan base, those fans will speak and tell us what they want. And if there's enough of a fan base to say, we'd love to see you have putters or short irons or something, it's something that we can look into. Penfold did golf clubs back in the day.
I saw that on your website. That's why I brought it up.
Gary Player had signature golf club, Penfold golf clubs. Seve Ballesteros had signature Penfold golf clubs. There's a possibility that Penfold could do that again. But we're talking about, hundreds of thousands of dollars in investment.
Oh God, I wouldn't even go down that road. It'd be so much money. Oh my gosh.
What it would most likely be is we'd look at a collaboration for putters or short game irons or something with a current company that would be interesting working with us to bring out a limited edition of that kind of stuff.
But I don't think Titleist would do that, or like TaylorMade or somebody big. You have to find like a custom club maker.
I'm not bothered about Titleist or TaylorMade. That doesn't mean anything to me. They're their own company. They do their own thing. They're fantastic at what they do. But we are not looking at being a Titleist or a TaylorMade.
No, I'm saying like if you were going to go get clubs made.
Yeah. We're not, I can't imagine Titleist or TaylorMade be interested. I think, a brand that sticks out in my mind. Well, a brand that sticks out in my mind would be like a Mizuno. I think that they'd be really cool. We have good connections with Mizuno. Who knows? Maybe they'd be interested. I don't know. If they're listening, are you interested?
Call me. My number is.
Yes. I'm not giving you my number.
I already have your number, man. Whatever.
That's true.
I should when I do the video on the bottom, I should like do like a 1-800 number and like it flash on the screen for your phone number.
You should.
I'm just kidding.
You should do that. The website, at least.
Well, cool, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I found Penfold on Instagram and I was like, what's this? And then that's why we originally, started working with them. Gavin's a cool dude. The story is really, really not, I love it. I think Penfold is going to be one of those brands in like 2 or 3 years. Everyone's going to know what it is. And I think they're going to have really cool stuff outside of, they'll have their signature. I think they'll have your signature brand stuff, but then I think you'll see a lot more. I don't know. You're doing it right. And I think that's really cool. So
yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Not bad from a guy.
Trying our best. We're doing our best. We're doing our best.
So, well, let me ask you one last question then. You're thinking then in the spring, there'll be a lot more offerings, right? That's the plan right now. Like I already know it's coming out. Right now, I can tell you guys, the balls are coming out in October. They have a really cool putter head cover. It's really cool. I'm just telling you. And then you have like
a very cool collaboration release, Masters Sunday. Hopefully, if all goes to plan.
That's cool. Yeah. So, and then before we know, it's going to be January because holidays and everything goes by really fast. But you guys, honestly, I don't ever say this during the show, but like support Penfold for reals because this is really cool. Like just go to their website and check out, he has all the pictures of all the things that he's found. Go watch, was it Goldfinger, right? Isn't it Goldfinger?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go watch Goldfinger. You want to know what Penfold is? Watch Goldfinger. And you'll see
absolutely.
That's what started this whole thing. James Bond for him at least.
Right.
But
James Bond. And he's coming out again soon. So, a future goal would be to have the ball back in one of the next James Bond movies. You just don't know what's going to happen. The potential is endless.
It really is, I think. Yeah. You don't ever see this. I've never heard of anything like this in my entire life. It doesn't matter what. It's like someone resurrecting and I don't even know. It's just so cool. I just think it's so cool. For real, I just think it's so cool. I don't even know I can't even describe the words because I think it's so cool to find something like this. And it's like a jewel and it just needs to be cleaned, right? Because it hasn't been around for a long time. And now it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Well, cool, man. Well, thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. Really appreciate it.
I'm a fan.
Thank you.
And support Penfold, you guys. Where can they find Penfold stuff? What's your website again?
You can just go to penfoldgolf.com and you can choose your region on the landing page and you'll go to obviously North America, or you can go to UK, Europe, and rest of the world.
Cool. Well, thank you for being on the show today.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
All right. You take care.
Yep. Cheers, Paul.